Hey everybody, welcome to My Physical World. Today we're in ArcGIS Pro. Awesome tool. Today's topic is using ArcGIS Pro to do cadastral mapping. Cadastral mapping is mapping real estate. That's pretty much what it is. So a cadastre is a map that shows land ownership. Or it doesn't necessarily have to be land ownership, but it could be property boundaries, that kind of stuff like that. But we are going to be using kind of a mix between the public land survey system and what we call traversing, using a survey to mark out a piece of property. Now we're going to be looking at some old legal descriptions from some deeds, and we're going to find out where those properties are. But before we begin, oh, by the way, yes, ArcGIS Pro can do traversing pretty darn well, okay? But before we begin, I'm going to give you a little bit of history on the public land survey system. The public land survey system here in the United States, okay? So I'm not familiar with any other system other than the French system. But here in the United States, this map that you're seeing on the screen is published by the Bureau of Land Management, and it shows you the different public land survey systems throughout the country. You will notice that like colors, like these yellow here. Now, these yellows over here and over here aren't related to these yellows, but they're grouped by colors to show the PLSS that is used for those particular states. Okay. Today, our example that I'm going to be showing is just a small little unincorporated village in the middle of Kansas. Okay. So we're going to be using the PLSS for Kansas, but if you'll notice with this diagram from the BLM, Kansas, Nebraska, Colorado, Wyoming, and parts of South Dakota all share the same PLS. And the baseline, or a PLS, is a grid system starting from a principal meridian, which is an imaginary line running north and south, but it measures east and west. Does that sound familiar to you geography people? Latitude and longitude? Longitude lines run north and south, but they measure east and west. You guys get it? Okay, anyway. But a PLS is made up of baseline and a principal meridian. A principal meridian runs north and south, measures east and west. A baseline runs east and west and measures north and south. Now, for the example of Kansas, all of Kansas is south of the baseline. The baseline for Kansas's PLS is the northern boundary of the state, or the southern boundary of Nebraska. Okay, and that will come into play when I explain a little bit more about the PLS. Now, the PLS also has a couple other names that you might be familiar with. and one is called the rectangular survey system. Okay. Another name is the section, township, and range system. This system was part of the Land Ordinance of 1875, and it was a method of creating a grid for locating land. Duh. Okay. It is made up of a lot of different little squares. And you have different kinds of squares, relatively speaking. Of course, you have a township, and inside the township, it's made up of sections. Okay. Now, the PLS, just for history's sake, actually started in Ohio. If you notice the map of the United States, all the different PLS's, Ohio has a whole bunch. And the reason for that is because Ohio was the test bed for the entire United States. Every single survey system, other than the French system, even though that there is some French survey type of systems in Ohio, but every survey system was tested in the Ohio region. Okay. Now, the first PLS was developed in Ohio, and it was known as the Seven Ranges. And it was along the West Virginia border with Ohio. And you see at the top, it has 7 ranges. The first range, all the way to the 7th, measuring from east to west. And then the townships were below that. Okay? All below this baseline up here. Okay? So, yeah, a little bit of history on the PLS. But exactly what is the PLS? All right. So if we look at the makeup of the rectangular survey or public land survey system, where the baseline and the principal meridian intersect is the starting point. If you guys remember from the map of Kansas and Nebraska, the baseline is the boundary between those two states. And anything south of the baseline, the townships are designated as south. And then depending on whether you are east or west of the principal meridian, your ranges are notated as east or west, whether they're, one side or the other. Now, let's take a look. This is a map, an example of the township and range system with the origin point in the middle. Townships are measurements, even though they're designated north and south, they actually measure east and west. Is that right? No. Is that right? No. They don't measure anything. It's just a location. All right. So townships give a designation of sorry. of either being north or south of the baseline. Ranges are should I say, ranges are the columns, all right, This would be the ranges, and they measure the range. The ranges run north and south, but they designate a position east or west. Okay, townships, the lines, this is what I was trying to say first. Townships are this line. These are lines of townships. They run east and west, but they are designated north or south of a baseline. Does that make sense? Is that better? Okay. So in this example, we have township 2 south, range 3 west. So what that means is it's the township line, okay, and it's the second to the south of the baseline. And the range is the third range line, in this case range 3, that is west of the principal meridian. Okay, it's not hard to understand. The smallest unit inside of a township is known as a section. Now, there's some caveats to this, because not everywhere in the United States is a township this many sections. Okay, if you'll notice, a township has 36 sections, and they're numbered serpentine. So 1 is in the northeast, 6 is in the northwest, 31, which is hidden by this graphic, is right here in this corner in the southwest, and 36 is in the southeast. And they're serpentine numbering system. So right to left on the top, left to right on the second, okay, and so forth until you get down to 36. Another caveat is that some PLS townships are only made up of 4x4 sections. There's a few out there that are 5x5 sections. So you can have 16 square sections, you can have 25 square sections, or the most prominent is 36 square sections in a township. Okay. When in doubt, check out your local PLS and find out. Okay. Now, what is a section? Well, simply put, a section is roughly, and should I say, let's just say roughly. A section is roughly 1 square mile. 5,280 square feet, 5,280 feet square. Okay? 36 square miles is a township. Mostly in the United States. There's some places where it is different. Okay? But I say it is a square mile, but not always is it a square mile. Okay? It may not be exactly a square mile. The problem is because we are taking this spherical object that we live on, and we are smushing. Yes, that's a very important cartographic term. Smush. Smush. We're taking a sphere and we're smushing it to a flat piece of paper. And once you get that on a flat piece of paper, there's going to be a lot of distortion. So some sections will be manipulated to fit on the sphere, so they may not be exactly 1 square mile. Another way to measure a section is by the number of acres. All right. Here in the United States, we use acres, not hectares. So if you're metric, you'll have to acre is approximately 208.7 feet by 208.7 feet. Okay. And if you do the math, an acre is 43,360 square feet. All right. That is the perfect world. That's if we lived on a flat earth and we mapped it to a flat piece of paper. By the way, we do not live on a flat earth. Okay, anyway, I digress. That's a pet peeve of mine, being a cartographer for these past 40 years. Anyway, so a section has 640 acres. If you'll notice down here in this bottom part, the section, in this case section 14, is also subdivided into parts. So if we took a section and we took the northeast quadrant of that section, that is known as the northeast quarter, because it's 1/4 of a section. And if we further subdivide that, we get little pieces, parts of the quarter section. So here in this example, we have the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter. So this is a quarter, okay, or 1/16 of a section, okay, and that is going to be 160 acres. And you can subdivide that even further if you wanted to, but you can subdivide a section in different fashions. All right, you can call a full half quarter section, which in this example down here in the southeast, this would be the west half of the southeast quarter, and this would be the east half of the southeast quarter. Now, this should be 160 acres total. The west half would be 80 acres. In this southwest quarter is a little bit different. If you notice, they put a lake in this example, and I'm not really sure who put this together. I'm not taking credit for making this drawing, but in this southwest quarter, they have put a lake feature. Could be a political boundary. It could be the boundary between two separate PLS. Okay, but this white area is not included in this surveyed section. Okay, so this quarter section down here in the southwest, in this particular example, would be known as a short section, or this whole section is a short section because it is less than 640 acres. Okay, and then when they subdivide this short end, or the short portion of the section, they don't refer this as the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter. They call it lot 1 and lot 2, depending on where it is. But many times you'll still see this referred to its actual quarter. All right, but there are some nuances in cadastral mapping, and we're going to touch upon some of those today in our long lesson, by the way. But you're going to find this very useful in really any kind of research that you're doing. The prime focus of this video is using ArcGIS Pro as a survey software. Okay, and we are starting with the public land survey system in order to find a piece of property. Okay, so that's why I'm teaching you all of this information. So this is the township and range system. Remember, it has a starting point based on the intersection between a baseline and a principal meridian. It's made up of townships where that township location is referenced to its township line below the base or above the base, and its range line, which is either east or west of the principal meridian. So here we've dropped into ArcGIS Pro, all right, to lay out the ground or lay out the scope here. I have simply just in the map view have added a base map of a Google image or a Bing image, whatever their default location is, source is. And it's just an aerial photography or satellite image of a particular area. And this just happens to be in Kansas. All right. And I have also gone to the GIS portal for data in Kansas, and I have obtained the PLSS for Kansas. So it has all of the township and range and sections for the entire state of Kansas. All right, it's quite lengthy. But I'm going to zoom in to this section 34. Now you're going to notice that there are other subdivisions in here, okay? But they're all part of section 34. This is roughly 640 acres. Now I have gone in and edited this layer to create the subdivisions inside of the section, all right? So I've split the polygon along the midpoints to create the quarter sections. Each one of these are 160 acres. And I've gone into this quarter section and split it even further into an east half and a northwest and a southwest quarter. Okay? Because that's going to be important when we start reading a legal description on trying to find a tract of land. Okay, like I said, I've been doing this for almost 40 years now. And the first 20 of that was I was doing nothing but, 17 years. I was doing nothing but cadastral mapping. Was it 17 years? No, actually it was 11 years. Yeah, it was 11 years. I did nothing but cadastral mapping. So this is it's ingrained in me now. Okay. So let's talk about how to read a legal description. Okay, you're going to find the term legal description used quite loosely in cadastral mapping. A legal description is the description of a piece of property that is physically written in a deed. Okay? If a description of a piece of property is in text form and it is not on the deed, it is known as a property description. There's two different. You have to be careful. Okay? So if you go to your appraiser's office, as they're known in Kansas, and other states, or if you go to your assessor's office in your particular county, they do the exact same thing. They're either called assessors or appraisers. You can get online and look at their mapping system to find property, to find real estate. The description of the property that you see on their computer system is known as a property description and is not a legal binding description of the property. It's only a truncated or abbreviated or abstract of the property. If you want the legal description, you physically have to get a copy of the deed. Okay, so knowing that. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a legal description so we can find out where in this section a piece of property is. All right, so if I bring up a copy of a legal description, this is literally from a portion of a deed that I have clipped out, and I've protected the owner's name and all that kind of stuff, obviously, I hope. But this is the legal description that I've copied from a deed to show you how to read a legal description. All right. So this deed happens to be 3 tracts of land in this section section 34. All right. There's 3 separate tracts that this description is delineating out. And what we're going to do is use ArcGIS Pro to map it. Okay. You're going to hear some other nuances about cadastral mapping that you're going to need to understand, okay, and need to be aware of. All right. So let's take a look at this legal description. First of all, it says it's a certain tract of land that's 100 feet by 150 feet, and it is situated, okay, here comes the township and range system. It is situated in the south 1/2 or south half of the southeast quarter. South half of the southeast quarter, okay, of section 34, township 18, range 4 east. Now, notice that township, here's one of those caveats. Notice that township 18 does not have a north or south designator on it. The reason it doesn't is because this is a deed in Kansas, and every township in Kansas is south. Okay? It's south of the baseline, which is the northern boundary of Kansas. All right? So, legalese, they're not required to put the S or south at the end of township. All right, so that's why Township 18 doesn't have a designator. It's all south. All right, so the proper way to say Section 34, Township 18 south, range 4 east would be the proper way. Okay. Now, how to find this? All right, we know that this is Section 34 because I'm already zoomed into it. And we also know that it's range 18 4 east. We already know that, all right, because I found it. All right, I just basically in ArcGIS Pro, I click the polygon. I click the polygon, and there are attributes in it that gives me the section, township, and range. So right here is the section 34. Township 18, range 4. All right. Now, they don't have the letter designations in their attribute table, but they do have a field where they call SRT, which is incorrect, by the way. It should be STR, section, township, range. And it gives you section 34, township 18 south, range 4 east. So we know we are in the correct location, okay, according to this legal description. So where in the section is this beginning point? All right. Well, we know we're in the right section, township and range. But you read backwards, we go to the southeast quarter, which is this quarter right here. and then we go backwards some more to the south half of the southeast quarter. So here's the southeast quarter, and here is the south half. So it's somewhere between these two. All right, so we can simply zoom into that area like this, like this, like this, like this. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, so we know it's in this south half of this southeast quarter, but we have to get even closer. All right, so we're east of the 6th principal meridian. Okay, and we are beginning at a point 100 feet south of the road running east and west between the northwest quarter of the southeast quarter and the southwest quarter of the southeast quarter. Okay, we know that it says right there a road running between those two right here. Okay, the problem is that part of this description is a meets and bounds description. And what that means is that they're using some physical object on the surface of the earth as a point of reference. Okay, in this case, they're using a road. And here's that road right here. Now, problem with using meets and bounds is this road could have been torn up and discarded since this legal description was written. I believe that this was written in like 1940s. Okay, but that road could have been totally gone. All right, we're lucky that it isn't. But another thing that you'll find in meets and bound descriptions is you might see a description that says to the middle of a 5-inch cedar tree. Well, what happens with a 5-inch cedar tree? Well, a couple things. First of all, it could grow and it's no longer 5 inches. Or it could have got caught up in a storm and blown down completely and the tree is no longer there. So you lose that point of reference. All right. I've seen legal descriptions that are delineated by the amount of time the rider of a horse took to smoke a cigarette. Okay, I mean, and I'm not exaggerating. I've seen legal descriptions that are like that. Okay, that is a meets and bounds. All right, so in order to find that distance, you'd have to find out what kind of cigarette they were smoking, what kind of horse they were riding, and how fast they were going on the horse. Okay, you get the picture, right? So you have to understand meets and bounds. Okay, but we got lucky in this area because the road that runs east and west is still there along that half section line, that half quarter section line. Okay, so it starts 100 feet south of the road. Okay, so we're going to kind of zoom in here. Here's the road. But it says 100 feet south of that road. Well, what does that mean? Does it mean 100 feet south of the center line of the road? Or does it mean 100 feet south of the road right-of-way? Okay? You have to understand right-of-ways. Does this road, okay, let's take, for example, that let's say this road is 30 feet wide. Does that section line run down the center of the paved part of the road? We don't know that. Okay? You have to do some more research at your local deeds office to find out what this road is really delineated out as. The road right-of-way doesn't only always include the actual pavement of the road. Okay, it could take more or less of the pavement. On one side of the center line of the road right-of-way could be 20 feet. On the other side, it could be 10 feet, okay, depending on how it was mapped. So those are some of these caveats in these road right-of-ways or these types of descriptions that you need to delineate and research, okay? A lot of times, county offices will have maps showing right-of-way. So you're going to need that information as well. Now, I don't have that information for this example, so we're just going to kind of guess, all right? In the real world, I would never guess. I would do my research to find out all the information possible to make this work, all right? So we know where our road is, and let's continue reading our legal description. So we know that it's 100 feet south of this road, and we're going to say the center line for this example, all right? But we know where it is on this road, but we don't know along this road where it is. We need another reference, and it gives us another meets and bound description right here that it's on the road, 100 feet south of the road, that's between these two quarter sections, and at the wagon road running parallel to the railroad right here. So here in the image is the railroad tracks. So that is the railroad. But it says the wagon road running parallel. So I assume, and you know what happens when you assume, but I would assume that this dirt road right here is being referenced as the wagon road. Okay? Now, is it the center line of the road, or is it the right-of-way of the road? The right-of-way of the road would probably come out to here, to this sidewalk, I would imagine. The center line is right down the middle of the dirt road, we assume, okay? And then the railroad has right-of-way, okay? So that's a different thing, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to assume that we know our road right-of-ways and that our point of beginning is at the intersection of the two right-of-ways. So let's pretend that the right-of-way is the pavement or the dirt, whatever this happens to be, and we extend this out to here, and we extend this one out to here. So our point of beginning is roughly 100 feet south of this point, right? You guys with me so far? All right. So we are getting close to using ArcGIS Pro to traverse or map out this property. There is something else that you need to learn in order to do this, and that is the method in which you are going to call out direction. If I bring up this graphic shows two different ways of delineating out a direction, okay? This first one is called azimuth, and basically north is either 0 or 360 degrees. It's kind of like runways at an airport, okay? The runways run in directions and they have numbers on each end, and those numbers correspond to north, south, east, and west by the azimuthal direction. So a runway that faces east is runway 9, okay? They dropped the trailing 0, all right? A runway that faces straight west is runway 27, okay? But it's actually 270 degrees, all right? So azimuth goes from 0 all the way around to 360, which is also 0, all right? A quadrant bearing, which is what is commonly used in surveying and cadastral mapping is the chart on the right, in which a compass rose is broken up into 4 quadrants, okay? A northeast, northwest, southwest, southeast quadrant. And the direction of bearing is based on which quadrant it's going to fall in, okay? So in this example, they have a south 75 west. That means east and west is both 90. North and south are both 0. So if I have south 75 west, that means I'm going to the south and west at 75 degrees. Okay, remember, straight west is 90. Straight south is 0. So I want 75, and that gets me going this direction. In the example on the right, I have south 45 east, which means I'm traveling south and east at 45 degrees. Okay, so this is a quadrant bearing. Now, if we look at the legal description, it is not giving us that S number west or S number south, okay? It is just saying running west, running south, running east. When you see that, you assume, and we know what happens when you assume, when you see that, it means you're going to be entering either S90 west for straight west or north 90 west. Okay, either those are both the same. Okay, you're going to have to assume a 90-degree angle. All right, because they're not giving us an exact bearing of the line. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to map this particular legal description using ArcGIS Pro. So I'm going to make it smaller, kind of move it over a little bit here. You may not see it on the screen off a little bit, but we'll make do. So let's map this property, okay? Now remember, this legal description has 3 tracts of land. And what I've done is, you'll notice I have track 1, 2, and 3. And basically all I did to create those is I went into view, went to catalog panel, went into my geodatabase, which I'm calling Antelope GDB, and I've right-clicked New Feature Class, and I called one track 1, and I made it a poly, and then I hit create, okay, or finish. All right, I did not add any attributes to it. Then I did the same for track 2 and track 3. That's all I did. So I have 3 of them. Okay, so I'm going to cancel this because I've already done it. Now, the legal description has 3 tracts of land. How do I know that? Is because it gives me a description of one piece, and then it says also. That means there's another piece coming. And then there's another also. So that gives me the 3rd one. All right, so we need to map each one individually. Now, if they're all under the same ownership, it could be one tract of land, but it's made up of 3 parts. All right, but I want to map the 3 individual parts first. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use track 1, and we're going to edit that. So we're going to go to edit, and then we're going to modify, and then we are going to come down and find traverse, because that's what we're doing. We're creating a traverse of bearings and distances. Okay, so I select traverse, and I get this beginning section right here. Now, make sure that the layer that you are working with is the correct one. We want tract 1. Okay, so I'm editing tract 1. Now I need to find a starting point for that particular tract. Okay, and that starting point is going to be given to us in this legal description. It is beginning 100 feet south of the road and where it intersects the wagon road. And remember, we're going to play like it is the road right-of-way. All right, so I'm going to find the road right-of-way, and if you have a map layer of right-of-ways, it'd be very useful because then you can snap to those features, right? Okay, but I don't have that in this particular case. So I'm going to pretend that the right-of-way comes over here, and then this one comes up, and where those two meet is going to be my beginning, so I'm going to click. And it automatically starts my traverse section, my traverse process in ArcGIS Pro. Now, all I have to do is I need to give it a direction from where my to my point of beginning. All right, we know it's 100 feet south of the road, so I'm going to click inside this box, and you notice as it says QB. QB is short for Quadrant Bearing. All right, if I hit this down arrow, I get north azimuth, south azimuth, and polar. Okay, those are using the 360 degrees. Okay, but we're going to be using the quadrant based bearing. All right, so I'm going to leave that at QB. All right, now it says 100 feet south of this point, and south is 0, right? So I'm going to go south S, I'm going to go 0, and it doesn't matter whether I do east or west, okay, because they'll be the same, but I'm going to use west. Okay, so I'm going to go 0 degrees southwest, which is straight south. So I hit enter, and then it takes me to distance, and I want 100 feet. So my beginning point is right here based on this description. That's 100 feet south of the road along the west wagon road. Okay, now we're going to go to the next part of the description. So 100 feet south, so that's where we're beginning. Then we're going to run west 150 feet. Now, west happens to be south 90 west. And we're going to go 150 feet. So that moves us over to this direction. Okay, so this is the point of beginning, and this is our first traverse right here. Okay, so we go to the next part of the legal description. Thence south 100 feet. Remember, south there we go. Remember, south is south 0 west, and we're going to go 100 feet. Okay, then south 100 feet. So I'm going to type in 100 and hit enter. Now I'm using polygons. Okay, so this looks a little goofy right now, but here's our point of beginning. Our first traverse was 150 feet, then we went south 100 feet. Now I suppose, yeah, we're going to go back east another 150 feet. So I'm going to go with this next one. We're going to go north. We can go north 90 east. All right, which is the same as south 90 east. All right, hit enter, and we're going to type in 150 and hit enter, and that makes our box. And notice that since this is our point of beginning, it goes ahead and fixes our polygon here. And now we look at our legal description, and there are no more bearings and distances, so we can right click and finish. And now we have a polygon based off of this legal description, right? Okay, now we're going to map track number 2. But before I get to track number 2, remember it said beginning south of this point that was up here, right? Since it said south, I went straight south down. Okay? However, I know, because I know this area, I know that this road is diagonal, right? So that means that this east line would most likely be diagonal. Okay? But it did not say southwesterly, or it didn't say southerly. There's one of those caveats of a legal description. Southerly means it's not perfectly south. Southwest tells me it's southwest, right? So based on the legal description, I had to go straight south because that's what it said, south. South means south. All right. Now, most likely, if there is road right-of-way here, this owner doesn't own it, okay? Because the local government is in ownership of the road right-of-way. So this property right here would be split at the right-of-way line, and they don't own what's in the right-of-way. Now, laws are different from place to place. Technically, they could own it, but it gives the government the right to have access to that part of the property. There's all different nuances that you need to understand, okay? But in reality, this particular track gets cut off right here, all right? Okay, so knowing that, now we're going to go to also, okay? We're going to go to the next description, all right? Now, in this description, this polygon that we just created is in reference to a deed, and it has a person's name and all that kind of stuff. You would have to get this deed and find out if it corresponds with that other ownership, that other legal description. All right, but we're not going to do that today. All right, so now we're going to go to the next. Also, we're going to go to track 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch this to track 2. All right. And I am going to read the description. So also, it's part of the southwest quarter of the southeast quarter. Zoom out. Here's the southeast quarter. Here's the southwest quarter of the southeast quarter. All right. So we're still in the same ballpark, right? Of the same section, township, and range. And it's described as following: beginning at a point 1,320 feet north, 1,320 feet north, and 890 feet east of the southwest corner of the southeast quarter. All right, so we're 1,320 feet north and 890 feet east of the southwest corner. Here is the southwest corner, right down here, of the southwest quarter. Okay, southwest corner of the southeast quarter. Southwest corner of the southwest quarter. All right, so that's where this point is going to be referenced from. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in right here, to this corner, okay? And we are going to get the start point, and I'm going to choose that intersection right there. Now we are going to go north 1,320 feet. So I'm going to type in north 0 west, hit enter. And since it said north, I have to use 0, okay? And we're going to go 1,320 feet. Okay, so there's our line it drew. So let's zoom out, and this is where this point is. Now we need to go 890 feet east of this point, right? So in my description, I'm going to go north 0 east, and we're going to go 890 feet. Whoops. Let me Control Z. I made a mistake. There. Okay. So here's my 1320. I did. Yeah. I'm going to go north 90. Sorry, that's what I did wrong. 90 east. That's what I did wrong. North 90 east. 890 feet. There we go. That's better. Daddy's happy now. All right, so this right here is the beginning of track 2. Okay, so let's continue. So I'm at my point of beginning, 1320, then the 980, and it says east. Okay, the 890 feet is east of that corner down here at the bottom left. All right, of that section, township and range. Now I have my bearings. Thence 124 feet in the southwesterly direction. So that means I'm going to go southwesterly this direction, right? That's what it says. 124 feet southwesterly, okay? Along the west line of the railroad right-of-way. So, in order to map this direction, you would need to know where that right-of-way line is. Since this is an old railroad town, that means that this railroad actually owns on the other side of this road, most likely. Okay? Doesn't mean that's where the track is. That means the property that the railroad owns. All right? Now, I'm not 100% positive of the direction of southwesterly, but we're going to kind of give it a guess. All right? I'm going to try to get it as parallel as possible. Okay? I'm going to go southwesterly along the right-of-way, 124 feet. So I'm going to, if this is 0 going straight south, I'm going to call this probably, let's see what 10 looks like. All right. So I'm going to say south 10 degrees west. And if it doesn't work, I'll fine tune it. So I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to go 124 feet. Pretty darn close. Okay, it's pretty darn close. It's not perfect. I need to know what the bearing of the right-of-way line is in order to get the exact bearing. Now, for this example, I don't have that information, but I could contact the Register of Deeds office or the county engineer, any any reference in order to get the bearing of that right of way. Okay, it could have been 10, could be 12. Okay, we don't know. All right, but this is just getting you all started. So we've gone our southwesterly 124 feet. Then we're going to go west a distance of 190. Okay, now it said west, so I have to go straight west, right? So we're going to go south 90 west 190 feet. 190, hit enter, and there we go across there like that. Okay, then from that west distance of 190 to a place of beginning. Okay, so this right here is actually our point of beginning. Okay, even though we started down here at this corner as our first backsighting, or whatever you want to call it, all of these dimensions that were given up to this point gets us to the point of beginning. Okay, so this little box up here is not going to be the property. Okay, this just gets us to the POB, the point of beginning. All right, but I'm going to finish this sketch. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and finish the sketch so I don't lose this point. Okay, and we're going to use this point to create the next part of our legal description. All right, so this is our new point of beginning. So I'm going to zoom in, and I am going to set the start, and my start is this point. Bam, right there. Okay, and then later I'll delete this polygon because I won't need it. I only needed this polygon to find this point of beginning. All right, now we are to place of beginning. Thence we're going to go west 62.5 feet. So west is 990 west, or south 90 west, it doesn't matter. Okay, but I'm going to use 90, hit enter, and we're going to go 62.5 feet. Okay, then we are going to go south 100 feet. So I'm going to go south 0 west 190 feet. Okay. Then I am going to go east 62.5 feet. So I'm going to go north 90 east 62.5 feet. Okay, so that gets me there. And then let's find out where it goes from here. Thence north 100 feet to the point of beginning. Awesome. So I'm going to right click, finish. Okay. So it's this rectangular piece. This part over here, we don't need anymore. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to save my edits. Okay. I'm going to clear my selected. I'm going to select this piece that we made temporarily, and I'm simply going to delete it. But we didn't lose the actual tract that was described in our legal description. Right? Got that? Okay. So that's track number 2. Let's save. And let's map track number 3. So here is our legal description. And we did the 100 by 62.5 piece of ground down here. Okay. Now we're also going to do this last also. All right. And it is a part of the southwest quarter of the southeast quarter of section 34, township 18, range 4 east. It's the same location. All right, so here's the southwest quarter of the southeast quarter. So we're still in the right place. And we are going to find the point of beginning. And the point of beginning is, if we begin at a point 1320 feet, remember that, and 890 feet, remember that. So we're starting at this corner again, going up our 1320 and over to our 890 again. Okay. East of the southwest corner of the southeast quarter of the section, said point being located on the west line of the road right-of-way, railroad right-of-way, again, which was over here. Okay. Thence we're going to go west on the center line of the street, running east and west through the village of Antelope. Okay, so this one's a little trickier. So what we're going to do is get a starting point. We're going to click this point down here. Oops, whoops. I want to Control Z that. All right. I want to finish. I don't want that. Okay, I need to make sure that I'm on track 3. Sorry. Now I'm going to get my point. Start at this corner. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to go north 1320. So north 0 east or west. Doesn't matter. 1320. Takes me right back up here. Then we're going to go east the 890 feet. Okay. So we're going to go north north 90 east 890 feet. It takes me right back over to here. Remember that? Okay. So we are 890 feet east of the southwest corner of the southwest corner of the southeast quarter, and 1,320 feet north of that, right? Thence, we're going to go west on the center line of the street running east and west. Okay, so here's where we have a problem. Okay. All right. Let's find out what's going on. All right. And I can tell you right off the bat. And I'm doing this on purpose, by the way. Okay. If you notice, this right here is section 34. All of this is, right? From this point to this point is supposed to be 5,280 feet. Okay? from this point to this point is going to be half of that, right? What is that? 2640. Okay, and half of that is 1320. You guys with me? So if you notice that when I delineated out this map, this 1320 feet actually should have came up to this point up here, because that is a quarter mile. Okay, 1320 feet is 1/4 of a mile, and that would be mapping right here. Okay, so based on the description, the exact measurement of this mile is not exactly the same. All right, so we can use the meets and bound portion of the description to lay out exactly where this tract of land should have been, right? Okay, now I want to show you this. So I'm going to hit escape. We're going to finish, and we're going to use the meets and bounds portion. Okay, now the thing is that the projection of the image on our screen may not be perfect, right? Okay, so let's go over here to map, and let's do a measure tool, and we are going to measure in feet from this point to the quarter section line. Okay, let me move this over. I'm going to snap here, click, and I'm going to click at this corner, and that gives me the quarter mile section line is actually 1600 feet. Okay, but I have to use the line that says that it is the meets and bounds, which is the road, right? Okay, so knowing that, when I'm going to remap track 2 based off of this point. All right, so I'm going to go to track 2, go to edit. I'm going to select track 2. I'm going to delete it. Okay. Then I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to use this as my 1320. Okay, this point right here as my 1320. I know you just have to be in cadastral cartography. You have to understand legal descriptions. When they give a point that is based off of the PLS, you have to use that point and not necessarily the feet between the two, right? Okay, so from this point right here on the road, it was 890 feet east of that was where we should have drawn our first track. All right, so let's make this track 2, and let's get a start and start at this intersection, and let's go north 90 east 890 feet, which gets me right here. Okay, all right, so that is the point of beginning for my property in reality. Okay, so back up here in track 2, we're east of the southwest corner of the southeast quarter, and thence in a southwesterly direction. See, this is where it's confusing, is I would assume that it should be over here. Okay, welcome to Cadastral Mapping. Okay, doing some research, and you do this when you're cadastral mapping, is that this happens to be a long section. It's greater than 640 acres. All right. So what shows up on the ground doesn't necessarily equate to the PLSS. All right. So that is the issue that we're trying to deal with. All right. But it said, now remember, let me escape here. Let me Control Z. Okay, let me Control Z here for a second. All right. Based on this description, the starting point of this tract of land I need to look at one more thing. In order for this to be mapped out, you have to know where the right-of-ways were, right? Okay. Remember me telling you that? All right. So according to the legal description, based on the quarter section lines and all that kind of stuff, because a quarter section is 1320 by 1320, but this is a long mile, a long section. Our point of beginning should have been here, okay, in survey units. However, based on the meets and bounds, you have to reconcile both the meets and bounds description and the survey description. And what that's saying, that my point of beginning is the right-of-way, which is right up here, and that point is approximately right here. Okay? So, knowing that, I'm going to measure that distance. So I'm going to Control Z here, and I'm going to go to the map view. I'm going to do a measure. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to assume that the right-of-way line goes at an angle like that. So about right here where I have my notation, I'm going to figure out how many feet that is. All right. So I'm going to measure from here to roughly here. So I'm getting about 1,011 feet. Okay. And we can call it 1,000 feet. All right. So I need a new point of beginning. So I'm going to go track 2. So I am going to make this 1,010. And where's my dot? All right, let's I'm doing this live, by the way, if you haven't noticed. Oops. Let's get rid of that one. Let's whoops. That one. Let's finish. Okay, let's go to select, delete. All right, now, I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm doing this live. I'm trying to reconcile this here for a second. All right. This is not ArcPro's fault. This is what you get to when you're trying to work out confusing legal descriptions. All right. Trust me. All right. You guys don't know me, so why would you trust me, right? All right. So what I'm going to do is go track 2, start point, click here, and I'm going to go 90 east, north 90 east, and we're going to go 1,010 feet. Puts my point right here. That's what I wanted. All right, now let's continue. We're going southwesterly. Remember that southwesterly? I did a 10 degrees, if you remember that. So we are going to go, whoops, we're going to go south 10, west, and we're going to go our 124 feet. Which gives us pretty darn close to where we began the first time. All right. Remember how I said that this part of the property probably doesn't belong to them because of the road right away? If we extended that continuing south, I think that's more than 10. I think it's about 12. So I'm going to hit a Control Z twice. We're going to come back to this point, go south. Let's go 13 west, and then do 124 feet. Whoops. I think that's more in line with, yeah, that's more in line with the direction. Okay, 13 degrees southwest. All right. Now we can continue. We went our southwesterly direction, and then we're going to go west 190 feet. So here we're going to go north 90 west 190. Takes us over here. Okay. This is the point of beginning. Right. That's right. Because track 2, we had to do all this to get to our point of beginning. All right. So with that said, I'm going to right click and finish the sketch. So I have this point. All right. And most likely you'll make adjustments. See how these two so this point of beginning wasn't exactly right that I had when I did the first one, but that's okay. We're just working this out, and you're seeing how ArcGIS Pro can be used for traversing. All right, so I have my temporary polygon in order for me to have the point of beginning, because that is a point of beginning. All right, so we are going to select the start, select this point, because we are a place of beginning, thence west 62.5 feet. So 90 north 90 west 62.5 feet, and this is working out. This is about, yeah, this is right. Okay, then we're going to go south 100. So south 0 west 100 feet. Then we're going to go back east 62.5. So north 90 east 62.5. And then we're going to go north to the point of beginning. So I can right click and finish. All right. So this is track 2. Okay. This polygon up here, I can delete. So there's track 1. There's track 2. Okay. Now we're going to do track 3 again. So I'm going to select there and read here. So the point of beginning for track 3 is almost referenced off of like track 2. So it's going to be the 1320 north right here, 1320, which is a quarter mile, which would line up with the quarter section line. And since that section line takes precedence, okay, because it was the original survey, we have to use this quarter section line at the 1320. All right, that's why we came off of this intersection. Remember, when we measured 1320 from this corner up, it didn't come up to this point because this is a long section. Okay, it's a long section. That means it's greater than 640 acres. So this distance cannot be 1320. It has to be the 16 something. Okay, but we're using the geographic reference of this corner based off of the PLSS. All right, so knowing that, track 3 begins that 1320, or this point up here, and then 890 over, okay? Then we drop down, said point of beginning located on the west line of the railroad again, just like we did. Thence west on the center line of this street. Okay, so you guys remember the 1,010 feet to get me to this point over here? That's what we're doing. So I'm going to click here. Whoops, I'm sorry. Get start. Click here. We're going to go north 90 east, and we're going to go 10 10. That gets us back to where we started this piece of property, right? And then, said point being located on the west line of the railroad right-of-way, which is right here, which is that same line that came down through here. Then we're going to go west along this center line of the road. All right, now it's saying the center line of the road, running east and west through the village of Antelope, a distance of 162 feet 2 inches. Okay, so we're going to go north 90 west, north 90 west. What is 0.2 feet? I mean, what's 2 inches? Hold on for a second. Let me calculate that out. Okay, 2 inches is 0.16 feet. So we are going to go a distance. We're going to go a distance of 162.16 feet. 162.16 feet. Takes me over here. Okay. Then we're going to go south 99.32. All right, so we're going to go south 0 east 99.32 because that's 4 inches. Takes me down to here. So that means that this property is probably going to need to come up a little bit. All right, I might not have, like I said, I didn't have the point in beginning exactly right for tract 1. All right, but tract 3 is giving us some good descriptions that it's the center line, okay, and not the road right away. All right, so continue 99 feet. All right, thence we're going to go east a distance of 133 feet to the west line of the railroad right-of-way. So we're going to go west. We're going to go back east. So we're going to go north 90 east, and we're going to go 133 feet. 133 feet, which is actually lining up pretty darn good of where I believe that road right-of-way is anyway, which is perfect, which is makes daddy happy. All right, and then let's see, we did 133 feet, and then to the west line of the railroad, which is what I'm happy with right here. Okay, thence in a northeasterly direction along this right-of-way, we're going to go 124 feet, which is going to bring us back to the point of beginning, which is right up here. Okay? So let me Control Z here because I inadvertently made a mistake. And what do we call that? I called that 13 degrees, remember? Okay? So we are going to go, since north is 0, we're going to go north 13 east 124 feet. Okay? You know, to be honest with you, okay, let me, okay, I understand, I know okay, that's where I wanted to start, right here. That's where I wanted to go, right there. So I got my 133 feet. Sorry if this is rough. I mean, it's just part of the deal. North 13 east 124 overshoots, which is fine. And that should be our point of beginning. Oh, I know what I did. I know what I did. I left my point of beginning. All right, so let's finish. Let's do this one more time. It's always helpful to see, I want you to see me get out of a predicament, I guess. I'm not doing it I didn't do this one on purpose. I screwed up, but let's go select this property, select this polygon. Let's go ahead and delete it. Okay, and retraverse this back out. All right, so track 3, we know we started get start point Kerplui. All right, okay, and I'm gonna go that 890. I'm gonna go, no, because I'm gonna go west. No, it's the 1010. So north 90 east 1010. That's my point of beginning right there. All right. Then we're going to go this way. Then we're going to go to the west. That's west. Our 162.16 feet. So north 90 west 162.16 feet gets us right here. Okay, Now, what I want to do is what happens when I finish sketch? I still have that point. That's good. All right. That's what I wanted. I want to keep this point. All right. So I'm going to get start. Select that point. Now I have another point of beginning. Then I'm 162.2 feet. Then so I'm going to go south 99.32. So I'm going to go south 0 west 99.32 feet. That takes me down to here. Then I should go west again. East 133 feet, I believe. Is that right? East 133 feet. All right, so we're going to go north 90 east. Whoops. East 133 feet. Okay. And then we are going to, it's going to come back to here, but it's going to, with the distance they give us, it's going to overshoot it up to here. But that's okay, because we can, I'll show you another trick to take care of that. All right, so the next bearing is, I called it 13 degrees, remember? And we need to go 124 feet right here. Okay, where it says the distance of 124 feet back to the point of beginning. So that 1010 from that corner over to the left to this point, okay, that's our point of beginning right there. All right, so what we're going to do is go north 13 east, and we're going to go 124. That should overshoot the section line, which is what I expected. And now we're going to finish the sketch. So I have this polygon right here. Okay. Now, most likely, this property is going to be moved over to here. Okay. And this angle is going to be taken off of it. And I believe that this one right here, based off of the PLS ArcGIS Pro and the image, we have some fine tuning to do. All right, so I can go to tract 2. Let's let's select. There's tract 2, and I can go to edit, and I can go to modify, and I can come down to split. I believe split, and I can click here, and I can click here, I can't remember how I get myself out of this one. Please hold. Okay, so I'm gonna go to edit. I have my polygon selected. I'm going to go to split. I'm going to select here. Double click here. There we go. Double click through that polygon. Then I can select this portion, and I can delete that portion. And that gets me that property along that center line, just like that. Okay, now because of the way the legal description's written and my lack of data, my lack of information, such as the right-of-way lines and all that kind of stuff, I would assume that this property right here needs to move. Whoops. Let's try this again. Select, delete, select, and I want to move going to be like that. Okay. Okay. And then, most likely because of the road right-of-way, if I had a road right-of-way layer underneath it, I could easily make fine-tune this. So split, I'm going to go from this point, follow that 13 degrees. Nope, that didn't work. Follow this. There we go. Okay, so I split that polygon, select this portion, delete that. Alright, and now I believe this piece right here actually goes right here. Okay, so I'm going to move that. To right there. Okay. Then we can save our edits. And yeah, our tract of land kind of looks like that. Now, my question is even though that we were given the center line of this road for a measurement, but we weren't on our first tract didn't say the road center line, if all of this is going to drop down. Do you guys understand what I'm talking about? Because I believe that this tract and this tract includes this house, right? So I'd be really interested in getting road right-of-way data from the county, so I know exactly where all of these are. And I'd also like to get some section corner ties, actual surveyed section corner ties, which I don't know if this county has them or not. It's a pretty rural county, and they probably have not gone out and GPSed their section corners. Well, they most likely have some survey of section corners done because they have aerial photography. But there's some fine tuning that I would like to see done with either my data or the PLSS or something like that. Because like I said, that 1,320 feet that was given from this section corner right here, this section corner down here, 1,320 feet is half or a quarter of a mile, which is the quarter section line, which is the same as a road. But like I said, this is a long section, so the distances are greater. You just have to take the intersection as the gospel and not necessarily the measurement, okay? Especially when you're mixing media such as an aerial photo in your GIS software. But you guys saw the basics of how to traverse property, and that's really the goal of this tutorial. This long drawn out section was all about was how to use ArcGIS. You can call it coordinate geometry, COGO, if you want to, but I usually just say traverse, to follow a legal description or a plat or something to map it in ArcGIS Pro. All right. But as a former cadastral cartographer, notice that these don't exactly match. All right. So I can select this and edit vertices. And I can snap that up there. I can bring that across. I don't want it to snap. There we go. And then I can take this vertex, snap it to that corner, zoom in a little bit, bring this one up like that. There we go. Just like that. But, like I said, here's what I'm thinking is that these 3 tracts of land, based off of the aerial photo, is I would move all 3 of these down, except it has to include the house. Pretty sure. Bet it's going to be something like that. But we're losing this building and part of this building. Unless these 2... Ah. You know something? So I'm going to select again. Select this one, and this one. And I'm going to move those again. And I'm going to move those up to include those buildings and do some other research. I'll find probably a description of the house on a separate property. I mean, on a separate deed. Okay? Such is the life of a cadastral cartographer, right? But I hope you guys... I really hope you guys found something out of this video, whether it's learning the PLSS, Township and Range System, quadrant bearings, azimuth bearings, using a PLS data layer as a reference to find a piece of property from a legal description, and using some of the modify traverse tools that comes with ArcGIS Pro in mapping out property. A lot of times it won't be as difficult, as I'm working with some really old deeded information, okay? So most likely you're not going to get into something as complicated as I have been showing you, but Arc Pro does a fantastic job using it as survey data. So I hope you found something useful in this very long video. And if you have any comments, drop me a line, leave a comment. If you feel inclined to support me in what I do with my educational videos on science and Microsoft Flight Simulator and ArcGIS Pro and Star Trek, buymeacoffee.com/myphysicalworld. Anyway, showed you how to use it. Leave a comment, and we will talk to you guys later, and we'll see you on the next video. See you later.